Good morning. This is Cynthia Hammer with another podcast. And this morning, we're going to be talking about intensities and the role they play in helping parents or anyone really understand a child with ADHD.
So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Megan Bonde, and I'm a neurodivergent entrepreneurship coach and TEDx speaker and parent of neurodivergent kids. And I started my first business when I was a child, and I had the kids come over and in the basement, and me and my best friend would play on arts and crafts and games and lessons for them. And then I became a speech language pathologist, and I really specialized in ADHD and autism and giftedness, and just loved to get to know these kids and realized that they were coming to me with these goals and these plans to help support them learn skills. But the most powerful thing that helped them was changing the environment in the classroom and adjusting how things were. And over time, when I was working in the schools, I started to get really exhausted and overwhelmed. And I discovered that I was neurodivergent and that I really needed to include myself in my advocacy. And my kids got identified around that same time. Discovering the intensities has been such a passion of mine because it's been absolutely life changing for me and my kids to really understand ourselves and be able to thrive.
I have to admit that I'd never heard about intensities, and learning about it, we went ahead and decided to create a checklist for parents to use so they can learn about intensities. And I think this morning we hope to give you the understanding of why learning about your child intensities is going to be so important in you being able to help them. So, my first question to you, Megan, is we've all long advocated that parents should figure out their children's passions and get their children into their passions. But now I'm learning about this new layer of intensity. So, can you explain to us how intensities tie into passions? And should we be changing our language to encourage parents to first learn about their child's intensities?
Yeah, understanding the 5 intensities can really provide the foundation for people to understand themselves, to help them really figure out which passions might be a really good fit for just how they're wired. And if someone has imaginational intensity, for example, they might be a really creative thinker and they might enjoy theater, music, or art, or writing. And if they have intellectual intensity, that means a deep, intense curiosity and love for learning. And it might be about a particular topic, or they might shift from topic to topic, but go really deep when they're interested in something.
So you're talking about the intensities. Can you tell us what are the all the areas of the intensities? Are there a lot of them?
There's the imaginational and then intellectual, like I mentioned. And then the emotional intensity can often be a foundation for a lot of passions because if somebody has a strong sense of fairness, that might lead them into a passion around a problem that they want to solve. If they experience deep joy or deep sadness, this can really connect with something that they care a lot about. And then the other 2 are the sensory intensity of just really noticing aesthetics and beauty and nature, and this can also show up as having preferences or sensitivities with noises and smells and tastes and things like that, which I know people who are amazing bakers and chefs because of their sensory intensity or artists. And then the last intensity is psychomotor, which really overlaps with a lot of ADHD traits for especially with the stereotypical model of somebody who craves movement. And this could be dance and sports and doing really well with active activities. And then the psychomotor is also an active brain, which shows up in a lot of inattentive girls for people who like to talk a lot. And so it can be an
Mm.
active body, active brain, and active talking for psychomotor.
So what I want the audience to understand is that a child is born almost with these intensities, and that understand the intensities helps you to figure out what passions might work for your child so that the intensity fits with the passion. And the intensity is nothing they can control, but it ends up being the passion is the thing that they choose. Is that, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, a lot of kids already start to squash down their intensity, hide it, mask it. They
Ah.
think that it's wrong. And then this can make it really hard to figure out what are the passions and what are the areas of interest when they're told that some of these traits are a problem and something that need to be fixed or cured. And so when they're really encouraged to understand their intensities as strengths and that sometimes they have needs with them, then that can help them use them for different areas of passion. Sometimes people like to switch between lots of passions or go deep with one or a couple, and there's lots of ways it'll show up.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a woman I interviewed who grew up being told so often she was too much. And now, as an adult, she's saying, I'm not too much. I'm just the way I want to be. And so I think what you're saying is there's a trail where your child maybe is being told too much. If you switch it and say, no, this is where your talents are going to lie, this is where your passion and your love of life is going to lie. So don't suppress it. We'll learn how to help you guide it and make the most of it.
Absolutely. And if they're in an environment that's asking them to sit still, be quiet, and follow this plan and learn about this particular thing, rather than an environment that says, let's see what your body needs to move and let's create an environment where you can talk how much you want to talk and let's give you all of these opportunities and choices to test things out and follow your curiosity and passion. Those two environments are going to send very different messages to somebody about their intensities.
I think just listening to think of a child getting a message that however you are is fine with us. We laud and praise you for being the way you are.
Absolutely.
So, Megan, although you're a coach now for adults, you do have children. And when you learned about your intensities, how did that change things for you? And moving forward, how did it change things for your family? To learn,
I
let's review again to learn whether they had strong emotions or strong creative drive, strong movement drive, strong sensory, or strong curiosity. Whichever one of those, or maybe they experience more than one. When you became aware of it, how did that change things in your family?
It changed everything to have that awareness. And when I had language to describe it in myself or in them, I would make comments like, I love your strong sense of fairness when they would be having a big meltdown around something that felt unfair.
That must have surprised them the first time you told them you loved it.
Yes. And there's still opportunities for teaching around when we feel that intense, strong sense of fairness, then we need to do a calming activity because we can't throw the silverware across the room. It's okay to use it as a teaching opportunity, but to start with the strength and to see the intention behind it and the positive trait behind it, even if it feels like a challenging behavior.
It reminds me that to say all feelings are fine, you get down then to how do you express it? And so you're saying your feeling is acceptable, but
Yeah,
how you express it is what we need to help you with.
exactly. And so I would model by saying, I'm feeling so mad right now. My strong sense of fairness, it really was upsetting to me today when this happened and it felt really unfair. And I needed to go cry in my room. And so I'm
Uh,
telling them how I'm experiencing these intensities, or this restaurant is too loud for me. I need to leave. I need to take a break. I need to go get my headphones.
mm.
And when I'm talking about it as needs and strengths in myself and them, then we started to realize anytime that we were not doing well, that we were not the problem, that it was not something wrong with us. And so the knowing about the intensities led me to leave my job in public education as a leader. I had my principal license and was doing district-wide leadership for special education. And I realized because I'm not doing well, this is not because there's something wrong with me. It's because the environment is not meeting my needs and the system is not meeting my needs. The same thing with the kids where they switch schools because we said the problem is not you. You need a different environment.
That's a wonderful thing to hear. I know for myself, sometimes when I'm at a dinner party or with a group of people, all of a sudden it almost hits me subtly as I can't stay seated any longer. I say, I apologize, but I'm just feeling too restless. I can't sit here any longer. So maybe one of my intensities is that physical movement one, because if I'm deprived of it, when I've had knee surgeries and there was a time in my life I couldn't exercise, and I used to feel that I didn't wanna live. Without that movement, it was like the joy in my life was gone. So, I guess that's one of my intensities.
Knowing about my psychomotor intensity has led me to take the corner seat in meetings or when I go to the theater and I stand when I need to and I pace and walk around and I don't require myself to sit. And that has been a role model for other people to do the same or bring fidgets or whatever they need. And same with the dinner
Oh.
table. My kids don't have to sit and they don't have to stay till the end of a meal. They can move and take care of what their body needs.
How would some of the others show up? How could
So,
parents start getting alerted to this?
so if they're showing the imaginational intensity, it might look like they're not focused and that they're just daydreaming and that they're not getting the tasks done that you want them to get done, or that they have so many ideas of things that they want to do, but they don't follow through on anything. That's really deficit thinking of seeing
Oh,
that
yeah,
as a
you
problem.
have so many ideas, but you don't follow through, and adults criticize themselves for that. So
Yep.
you're turning it on its head and saying, "No, being an idea generator is a positive thing."
Yeah, I tell my kids and myself those are great ideas. I love all of those ideas. And it's okay if you don't do all of the ideas. And is there one that you would like support with to execute? Because I have assistants that help me in my business, in my household, that support me with execution of my ideas. Because for me, it's too much energy to focus on the area that doesn't come naturally to me.
Mm,
Why use all of my energy trying to build up my executive function skills when I'm so good at thinking of ideas and imagining and being a visionary? And why not just find people who are really good at the execution and want to help me and figure out how to work together? It's about interdependence, and that's celebrating neurodiversity.
and I think we all recognize that we aren't all good at everything. We recognize there are people that are good athletes. We recognize there are people who are good musicians. But when we get to the individual child, we're saying, "No, you need to be good at everything the school expects you to be good at."
Exactly, and it's like, why so many of these things that we measure have arbitrarily been picked as more valuable than another strength, and if we just
Ah,
build out their strengths and then support them in their areas of need and come up with ways that it's okay if you need help, and it's okay if you always need help in this area for the rest of your life, that's not a big deal. You don't have to learn how to do everything yourself.
I love that argument. And I'm sure every person with undiagnosed ADD has a lot of areas they beat themselves up for. And for me, it, of course, was not having a neat house and just feeling like I'm home all day. I'm an at home mother. Why can't I manage to have a clean house? And I remember distinctly seeing my neighbors outside visiting over coffee, and I was still in the house not having anything done yet. And time goes by and you don't know where it went.
I can relate to that so much, and now that I've embraced receiving help with cleaning and professional organizers and just setting up my business so that I can honor those needs of myself and that I'm spending my days mostly in my zone of genius, then I get the support that I need and I don't have to beat myself up for not being able to do that because I don't have a clean or organized house on my own either.
And maybe people listening is saying, "Isn't that wonderful you can afford that?" But I wanna throw out the idea too that Megan became financially successful because she got into her intensities. So, if you follow your passions where you're intense, your gifts are going to come back to you. I want to throw that idea out there for parents who think there are only certain careers that they should be encouraging their children to follow because we know typically the lawyers or the doctors, those high esteemed things. But I want to caution you to get your children into their intensities and into their passion is where they're going to be happiest in their life.
Absolutely. When it comes to money, one metaphor that really helped me was a cactus needs less water than a rainforest, but one is not better or worse than another. If you need more financial resources and you're more like a rainforest to be able to take care of your needs and be able to contribute to the world and do work that's meaningful and makes a difference, that's okay to need higher levels of financial resources than somebody else. And to be able to set up your business or your career to have those needs met, that's not being greedy and it's not being wrong because I get to make a big difference in the lives of a lot of people because I've figured out these are my financial needs in order for me to be able to do what I love to do and work the way I'm wired, support my kids.
I like that metaphor, and it conveys so much so simply. The rainforest needing a lot of something, and the cactus needs different things.
That's
You know,
right. A lot more sun, but less water.
not one isn't superior to the other. The variety is what we value.
And the people that I'm able to pay to support me, they're so happy to get to support me because I say, "You're organizing or you're cleaning." That's
Yes.
helping me do all of this work that is really having an impact, and that makes them feel good, and they get to do what they're wanting to do with their business.
So for our nonprofit, I have an administrative assistant in the Philippines. And she didn't know anything about ADHD when she started, but now she's learned so much. But beyond that, she's feeling committed to this
Yep,
community and is glad to see the things we're doing that people are responding to. Yeah, I think that she looks on this as a bigger mission for her life is helping us.
absolutely.
Is there any intensity that you think parents would be more likely to miss in their child?
Mostly if their child is masking, because before I really discovered the intensities, I would have said, "Oh, I don't really have that deep of emotions," because I was
Oh.
numb at that point where I was just stuffing them down and not feeling them, or I'm not that sensory sensitive, I can handle it. And then when I really looked at how tired I was after I was in a loud environment or around something that didn't smell good, and how much joy I got from being in a supportive, sensory friendly environments, then I realized that I was really hiding my intensity. So I think that's the biggest thing is that you might not know, and it can show up as like stomach aches and headaches and not wanting to go to school can actually be the intensities being masked and squashed down.
I guess what I've learned about masking is to encourage the child that they're in a safe place and they can be who they are. But if they've been masking, is it how did I mean, for me, as you say that, I realize sometimes I used to say a few times when I came out being very upset at something and it just kind of came out of me, I was like, where did that come from? It's like I was so out of touch with how I was feeling that it wasn't till it burst out of me and I'd say, what? So I must have been suppressing myself too, and I said, "I'm very rarely angry." I guess I'm feeling like I don't feel like I'm suppressing anger anymore, but yeah, it's just that's off topic.
I think that Sometimes anger just looks different than what we're taught of how it's supposed to look, which
Ah,
I think my anger fuels me to be a leader in the neurodiversity movement
mm,
because I'm frustrated and I'm
ah,
upset and I think that it's wrong. And when you have a strong sense of fairness, that's usually anger and
yes.
then sadness underneath. And so it
Mm.
just can show up in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, that's a good way of reframing. We become productive. Our anger moves our productivity.
It's our energy.
And so, what about once a parent knows about their daughter's intensities? What is the first thing they could do to so they don't keep making things harder for their child?
What we really had to do, which might feel radical, is take away pretty much all the expectations for a little while and just create some space for the person to just be and just not have commitments. And that took some time for me to do that in my own life first so that I had the flexibility to.
Took away all the activities in your life, so you were like on a vacation with no expectations. So you could become free to be how you were.
Yeah, when I first left my job, I had saved up some money to be able to go through a burnout recovery time where I just rested. And then once I got some energy, I started to test out doing different things and see what really excited me. But there needed to be space in my calendar for trial and error and rest. And seeing what was the right amount of activities and what were the right types of work and activities so that I could really design my life around what kind of energized me and around my passion and really rediscover it rather than just doing what I was told that I was supposed to do.
Huh?
And after I was able to get my business going and had some stability and flexibility in my own life, then I was able to offer that to my kids where they could just be homeschooled and rest and learn however they wanted to learn. And so I did not have a schedule or a curriculum for them. And we just decided, what do we feel like doing? What do we want to do? What do we want to try? And for many days, it was like, I just want to stay home and rest. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to be around people. And then over time, they would start to ask, I want to go spend time with a friend. I want to work on some math problems. I want to go pick out a
Oh,
book at the
oh,
library. And they felt such autonomy and a sense of agency to ask to try things and ask for what they needed. And I still provided guidance and options. I didn't check out or anything, but I told them that it was valid to just learn how to rest and learn how to take care of their eating and just think through what is it that you want to do. Let's create something that works for you rather than try and fit into the mold.
as you talk about that, I had a son that went to Montessori kindergarten, and I think that functions a little bit on that principle that you create the environment where the child can pursue their interests.
That's right.
And there's no pressure to do one thing.
And I really think that's fine to do through elementary, middle school, high school, and as an adult and in your career, because having that freedom has allowed me and my kids to figure out what actually works for our brain and how we can really. We found our motivation, we found our energy, we found what we loved, and that's how we learn best.
So, how would you say your children's self esteem is at this point, having learned their intensities and following their passion? Is the culture still doing a job on their self esteem?
I see them stand up for themselves and self-advocate of. And I think that's such a indicator of self-esteem when someone can set boundaries or ask for what they need and have shame that they have that need of, "No, I need to move. I need to take a break. I don't like that. This isn't working for me. I want this." And they don't always get exactly what they're hoping for, because we have to problem solve and think about the needs of everybody in the family or the group. But for
Huh.
them to be able to speak up and say something and know that's a valid need or request and about themselves, that's self-esteem.
Yeah, that child's gonna be perceived as bratty.
Yeah, and that's just not the right environment or the right people for them, and that's what they've learned.
Yeah. A child who can say, "No, I can't go into that loud room." They're looked on as uncooperative
Yep,
instead of they're really smart enough to know what's going to help them
yep,
stay emotionally healthy.
that's right. You do really have to find your people, find your community, find the places that are neurodiversity affirming and inclusive. And if somebody says that's not going to work around here, shames you for that's not the right person or environment to be around, that's very harmful.
Yes. Huh. So how does your intensities impact with your children's intensities? Are there clashes going on, or does the awareness keep the regulation, co-regulation?
No, we have conflict a lot that we work through, and it's not always calm. And I have to go take breaks, and I go to my dance class twice a week. I go swim laps and go sit in the hot tub. I go on walks every day. The amount of self care that I need when I first started figuring out that was the level of regulation that I needed for myself, I felt ashamed. Who needs this much movement and nature time and calming activities? I have to do it for multiple hours a day to be regulated. And now I'm just like, I'm just a rainforest. I need a lot and I model it to my kids. So they take a lot of breaks, but there's nothing more important than me modeling, getting my needs met. And I hire babysitters to come over just for me to go to on a walk or my dance class if that's what's needed.
Huh. That sounds so refreshing that you've understood your needs and you're totally fine with meeting your needs. Why do we think that's a selfish model? To have your needs met and to become a healthier person.
It's really seen as selfish through the lens of what we've been taught. And I don't work 40 hours a week. And
Yes.
so I am able to make a big impact. And so I set my pricing and financials up to be able to give something deeply and intensely for large groups of people, whether it's speaking or my group coaching. And that allows me to meet my needs to be able to give that and to be able to make a big difference in people's lives. So I just have it set up
Yeah.
different.
Our world worked towards one model. One model, and we don't even one model for cars, so why should we want one model for a child or one model for an adult? That you work 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, and you do this during your work hours, and this is how your life is supposed to be. Yeah, I love this thinking that it opens the world up of possibilities for more types of people to be able to thrive.
Absolutely. And when we get stuck in one way of doing things, that's really discrimination. It's ableism, saying that
Mhm.
if you
Yes.
can't do it this way, then that's discriminating against different people's disabilities and ways of being. And we need to honor the different ways that people need to work and take care of themselves. And when we can do that for ourselves as parents, then it allows us to help our kids do that too.
Yeah, so my final question is, if you want parents to understand one thing about their daughter's intensities, what would that be?
That they're both a strength and they have needs, and that it's okay to honor those needs that are associated with them, and that it's not too much if the accommodations feel like a lot. And that allows you to really leverage those strengths and celebrate them. As a parent, you're probably doing something right.
So all around, we need to develop more confidence that doing what's best for us or best for our child is the path we want to take.
That's right.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Let's
Thank
talk
you.
again. So, Megan, this fits in so perfectly with the book I'm writing, and I don't know if this idea will blow your mind, but I Tom Hartman years ago had written a book about the hunter and the farmer world. But he thought that ADD people were the remnants of this hunter culture, that slowly we were dying out, but those of us that were still around were the ADHD people. I've created a different idea. I think all neurodivergent people were in the hunter culture, and we were just a small part of the tribe, but we were the specialists. We had the special skills that hunter culture, which existed for 300,000 years, and we've only moved into this farmer urban industrial culture in the last 20 years. That's why we exist, because we brought special skills to the earlier culture. But bringing it forward is all the things you're talking about. I say that we're specialists with talents, and that those talents are like our intensities. Or it's exciting to see that other people are thinking in the same way, but maybe not exactly the same way, but that all neurodivergent people have talents that tie in with the intensities.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think we're the canary in the coal mine, calling out the truth tellers, the disruptors. If we didn't have those kind of people around, that'd be a problem. And if everybody was like us, that would also be a problem. We
Right.
need the interdependence of different types of people.
Yeah, so we call them the specialists and the generalists. And the generalists are more robust, but the specialists need more special handling. We're a different quality. We're the Ferrari and not the Ford. They're both.
One is not
Let's go.
better, they're just
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll stay in touch, and I'm going to go to that podcast about positive disintegration.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
We believe all girls with ADHD should get a fair start in life by getting diagnosed by age 8. Visit us at www.FINDtheADHDgirls.org. Thank you.